I choose to live in a world of positivity. That's just how I roll. Doesn't mean that shortly thereafter things change out of necessity, okay? But I don't understand, Tiki, how anybody can wake up today, or maybe more specifically, go to bed last night without the thought that both the New York Jets and the New York Giants absolutely crushed it.
They absolutely
crushed it last night.
And as excited as I am, BT, about Kayvon Thibodeaux and getting Evan Neal, who fell maybe because of a little bit of that nonsense health thing that was popping up about a week ago. I don't know if we brought that to air, but we got exactly who we wanted with the Giants. But when I look at what the Jets did moving up to get Johnson back into the first round, and again, 3 first-round picks now. That may come to haunt you 5 years from now. But right now, the Jets feel like they are a team that can compete, especially if Zach Wilson develops from year 1 to year 2 like everybody's expecting him to develop. I agree. It's hard not to be optimistic about both the Jets and the Giants after last night.
And here's the thing. They're not even close to being done. They've got a multitude of picks coming up in rounds 2 and round 3. You know, the Jets get the compensatory pick from Tennessee on the trade. The Giants are loaded. They can get down today. I mean, listen, it's funny because you watch the Jets and the Giants every week, right? And it's so painfully easy to identify what both teams desperately needed.
Yes.
The Jets desperately needed a top quarterback. Most people believe they got the best one in the draft. They needed a pass rusher. Now they got 2 because Carl Lawson's coming back. And they somehow got somebody who they almost took at 10 at 26. So they got that. And they obviously needed explosion on the perimeter. And, you know, I'm a Jameson Williams guy, but for me, Garrett Wilson was right there. So the Jets did that. And for the Giants, you watch them every week. And we know historically when the Giants are really good, they're crushing the quarterback and they're protecting their quarterback. And while I don't love the Thibodeaux pick, I don't. And I didn't think that you loved him going into the draft either. So you're the Giant. I do love the Evan Neal pick. You're the former Giant. I don't love what the Giants did at 5, and I don't think you do either.
Well, I mean, I don't hate it, BT, because the real issue is that Kayvon Thibodeaux could be a perennial All-Pro, right? He could be one of those guys that is unbelievable right from the jump because he's got the physical skills and the makeup to be that player. Now, the challenge will be keeping him, and again, this is unfair because we have never seen him play in the NFL yet, but the challenge is to keep him completely motivated on being that guy that everybody expects him to be. We know what the MO was for him, or at least the scouting report on him, is that sometimes you'd see him taking some plays off. But I think at number 5, and with the opportunity to have 2 top 10 picks, you take one guy who you know is certain, right? That's Evan Neal, who played at a marquee university at Alabama, was a stalwart on a team that was competing. When won a national championship, was always there. So the formula for success is just ingrained in his soul. And then you take a risk at Kayvon Thibodeaux with the potential of being a superstar. The Giants, as we know, BT, you can go back to 2007, hell, you can go back to 86, and all the championships that they've won, and most recently against the New England Patriots, is because they were always able to get pressure on the quarterback and to disrupt what other offenses were trying to do. And Kayvon Thibodeaux, if he pans out, he gives you that. But you're right, BT. It wouldn't have been my first choice as an edge rusher because of some of those question marks and the potential to miss a little bit. But I don't think that's going to happen with Kayvon Thibodeaux.
877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney show here on The Fan. So last night, I got to play something for you. Imagine this, because you know your partner well. Imagine this. We're over at the FanDuel Sportsbook, which was a great time. And those of you who came out, great meeting you. Hopefully you guys had a great time watching the draft over at the Meadowlands Racebook, the Sportsbook. And we're on the days we're doing the show. So it's Sal, Kim, myself, and Evan, all right, at the time when the Jets are getting ready to pick. Now, keep in mind, right, there's TVs everywhere. Everybody's, all right, number 1, all right, number 2. All right, let's get to the Jets and the Giants. Boom. They are just getting ready to show the Jets pick. The TV goes off, and I think it was like the Calgary Flames. Some hockey game goes on. Against the
Was
Wild,
this a
right?
Heidi moment?
Listen to this.
That's awesome.
This is real time as we're waiting for the Jets to find out who they're going to draft. Just listen to this.
The first 6 weeks of his rookie season when he's doing it every year.
Correct.
Oh, my God.
Whoa, wait.
Get the draft back on. What are you doing, for goodness sake? The Jets are on the clock.
Put on the draft.
What is
Calgary
happening
Flames
Oh, my
Put
God.
on the
versus the
draft
Minnesota Wild.
now.
This is a calamity.
The Flames and Wild.
What the hell is going on here? Let's go.
Chaos.
That's a
The
riot
Jets
here.
fans are panicking as there's 3 minutes left.
I don't care what you do with the Texans. The Jets.
on the clock.
Are you kidding
these
me?
sports
No,
just
we
took
can't miss the pick, though. It'll get back.
They just took
Maybe
the
they could put
draft
beer money
off.
on from S&Y, Sal.
No, make it baseball night in New York. Every night at 6, by the way.
Hey, good job with that, by the way.
Thank you,
did a
BJ.
nice
I
job
appreciate
there.
that. They got, no joke, they just switched to the
What is-
Flames and Wild.
Put the
Not on
draft
any
on.
TV.
The pick is in.
There we
Oh,
go.
my God.
All right, so that went on for a little bit longer right there. I mean, can you imagine? We're getting ready, and we knew it. Listen, Sauce is who I wanted, and when the Lions took Stingley, you knew it was coming, unless you had a draft like a Jets moment from back in the day, which you knew they would not.
Yeah, you mean the Texans. The Texans took Stingley.
Oh, pardon me, the Texans. My bad. Hutchinson obviously going to Detroit at number 2. This was not going to be an old Jets mishap. This was going to be the right choice, but still, you wanted to see it actually come to fruition. Oh, my God, for like 2 minutes, I didn't know what to... I almost forgot that I was on the air. I don't know how I didn't curse.
So, did you ever find out what happened?
No.
I mean,
And
is
at that
this
point...
like someone sitting on the remote control, like a butt
I
channel
don't know.
change or something like that, or some knucklehead in the bar, like, hey, what are we doing here? Can I put on the Flames game? Can we watch some hockey? in
Maybe
here?
it was a Patriots fan, splicing the wires, or a Dolphins fan, whatever. Listen, I tweeted this before, and I'm saying it kind of with a smile, but when you really think about it, I don't know if it's that far from a stretch. Outside of Super Bowl III, which you and I were yet to be born for, or were not born when it happened, I think sounds a little bit better. Last night was the best 3+ hours in the history of the Jets.
I mean, you could. I mean, maybe, I've got to. I mean, that's a heavy statement.
Well, I
BT,
mean,
but as I
somewhat
think about
tongue-in-cheek, but think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to the AFC Championship games, I guess,
But not really, because they
say-
lost.
Yeah, that's true. And the divisional round before wasn't that exciting to the point where it was elate. You had.
No, I mean, I
elation
was
running
elated.
through.
I was euphoric. But
you
I
know
mean,
what
I'm being a little bit.
But what do you really win when you win the divisional round? You know what I mean? So it's
you
different.
win a chance to keep going. But listen, I'm not fully
You might be
serious.
right.
But
BT,
in
you
hindsight,
you might be right. Simply because, like, the hope that was created last season, at least at the end of last season with the Jets, and obviously it started with Robert Saleh getting hired, and then you draft Zach Wilson, and there's a belief that he could be that kid. They do really well in free agency this past offseason, and now the draft culminates in 3 first-round picks. And BT, we talked about how they needed offense, obviously, but when you get the impact, like 2 impact defensive players in the first round, it just makes it feel like this guy Joe Douglas, he knows what the hell he's doing. And not only that, it's almost like he knows what the fan wants. and not that that's how he's drafting, but it felt like he's hearing what all the issues from fans, from pundits, from critics, from etc. have been saying, and he's correcting them. I used to always think this when I was playing BT. People would criticize me for whatever. Oh, you're not small enough. Oh, you're not strong enough. Oh, you're not you're durable enough. You fumble too much. In my mind, it was always, all right, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to fix it. And then what are you going to say? Mm-hmm. Right? So your critics are your friends because they tell you about your faults. That's a Benjamin Franklin quote, paraphrase here a little bit. But you find those faults that people are talking about, and you go directly attack them, and then you fix them, and it gives you confidence, it gives you belief, and it makes everybody just start to say, all right, this guy knows what it takes. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's where the Jets are right now.
I like it, and I think I misspoke. I said during that little snippet of uncertainty with the televisions over at Meadowlands, I think I said that Evan was on the dais. He wound up coming a little later, so Evan and I were up there for the number 10 pick. That was Keith there, so I just want to clarify because Keith was doing a good job as well. He was there too, so I want to make sure I give him a little pop. It was a good night, really it was. 877-337-6666. And while, listen, everybody knows who the Giants took at this point, Tiki, for the first time in a while, it felt like it was like they didn't telegraph what they were going to do, the Giants, and they played things well. And I think that is hopefully, and I think many of us believe this because we really lauded the hiring of Shane and Daboll, where it was playing the draft expertly. Like, they again, and you said this, they could have very easily got offensive linemen at number 5, which would have been the conventional choice. Nobody would have railroaded them for it. Most people thought they would. But if Thibodeaux turns out to be a superstar, again, I'm a little lukewarm on the pick, but let's see what happens. We'll give the young man a chance. If he pops and becomes what the Giants believe he is, I mean, this shows the shrewdness and the IQ while the pressure's up in the war room by the Giants. They showed a great resilience last night, I thought.
No, I think you're right, BT, and I think all of the pre-draft, but we heard them talking about Kayvon Thibodeaux, right? We heard these stories, Joe Shane and Daboll and the staff, they're really doing their diligence on Kayvon Thibodeaux. I mean, they made the trip, out to the West Coast to see him. And, while people may say, he's got an answer for everything, sometimes you worry about those kids, right? They have an answer for everything. It's like, dude, you haven't done anything yet. How do you have an answer for everything?
Well, like Josh Rosen. Wasn't that the knock on Josh Rosen?
100%. Remember we had him on? I forgot what we were asking him, but we asked Josh Rosen a question, and he had an answer that he shouldn't have had, and it just felt like he was BSing us. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, kid, you're too smart for your own good. At least you think you are.
Yeah.
And Kayvon Thibodeaux, while he doesn't come off like that, he's really confident in how he talks and what he says, and I think sometimes that can rub you the wrong way because it feels cocky and not humble. And when you're as good as he is and could be, you kind of want the humble superstar. But as long as he produces and becomes the guy, I'll be happy with it. Let's just hope that all of those question marks, and they weren't big question marks, they're like little tiny question marks, don't ultimately amount to anything, and he becomes a star that the Giants hope he is by taking him at number 5.
So you look up in the sky, right? You look toward the sky, and those dark, ominous clouds that have hovered over New York football for a decade, 35% collective winning percentage for 20 years for the Jets and the Giants, 20 seasons, I should say 10 years. They're beginning to dissipate. And they started to dissipate a little bit at the end of the year last year for the Jets with Wilson not turning the ball over, some functional offensive line play, at least a modicum of hope. And then a really strong offseason, couple of tight ends, free agency well spent. The Giants trying to get the finances in order, making some interesting, nothing top of the mountain personnel moves, but things that they had to do just to get them in a position of stabilization, hopefully. And now last night, again, Thibodeaux, he's got great talent. I would not have made the pick, but I still think I love the other 4 picks, and I think that in large part, the Jets and the Giants crushed it.
Yeah, you can't help but be excited, BT. You really can't. And if you're the Jets, you got not lucky, but Jermaine Johnson fell, and he was there. You had to make the move. You need edge rushers. The defense was the side of the ball that we kept talking about. They needed to spend a first-round capital on, and they did it despite not doing it in the top 10. They got it done in the first round. And, I mean, it could turn out to be an iconic draft.
A transformative day.
That's right.
Certainly for the Jets, who haven't won since in my lifetime. And the Giants have a bunch of Lombardis, a little different, but it's been a rocky road as well. So, all right, we laid it out for you. Let's get to you. You pumped up. Maybe, listen, I'm sure there's some contrarians who aren't digging what either team did or one of the teams did last night, but that's why we flush through it. And we start up in Rockland County. Steve is on the fan, Tiki and Tierney. Steve.
Good morning, guys. So my comment in terms of what you're talking about with Thibodeaux is that when I saw him interviewed, I think that I saw a guy who has a quiet determination to prove that critique wrong. That was the feeling I got. But this is my question for the both of you guys, okay? Especially for you, Tiki. Now, when the Jets jumped in, when I saw the Jets made the trade at 26, I said, oh, my God, they're going to take this guy Johnson. I was sitting there. Are they really going to do this? And they're going to have, like, these 3 unbelievable guys. And kudos to them. My question for you guys is, why didn't the Jets... and then I thought, well, if the Jets could do it, why didn't the Giants do it? And then they would have had bookend defensive, guys, on D. Did the Giants not have the assets? Or Or is there a different? Are they planning on some? Do they see value in the later rounds, guys? What do you think about the reason why the Giants didn't jump in at 26? Thank you.
Well,
Okay.
I mean,
You got it,
the
Stevie.
Giants, I think they have a little bit more depth defensively than the Jets did. They just gave the fifth-year option to Dexter Lawrence, and so I think they believe in what they have. And also, you got to wonder, what Wink Martindale and his system needs. You know what I mean? So when you look at what Kayvon Thibodeaux brings, he's this versatile stand-up edge rusher, which is exactly what Wink wants. A guy who can bounce around and move to either left or right, or you got to stick him in the middle and blitz from that area and be diverse. That's exactly what he brought. I don't know if Jermaine Johnson had the right skill set. Maybe he did, but I think honestly you hit on it, Steve. It was a conservation of assets. The Giants still have work to do, right? If you can grab one of these other offensive linemen in the second round and continue to build depth there, that's probably more prudent than building bookends, say defensive ends for the Giants. Again, I think it was a great move by the Jets. I didn't even think about the Giants potentially making that move.
877-337-6666, and there's a lot of assets coming up. We'll obviously get into a little later in the show what the Jets and the Giants will do later on today and into the weekend. The Giants number 36, the Jets number 38 today. Third round, Giants have 67 and 81. The Jets get back the compensatory pick in the trade, where they obviously got Jermaine Johnson. They've also had the 101st pick. They've got a couple of picks in round 4. So it is not over. The rebuilding is underway, and the dissipation of clouds is also underway as the sun seemingly starting to come out for both New York teams. Tiki and Tierney up on the Fan until 2, and then it's Gardner Roberts coming up after us.